They thought they broke you, didn't they, with their lies, their betrayal, their silence when you needed them most. They thought you'd scream, beg, collapse, but instead, you got quiet. There's a moment right after the heartbreak, right after the sting of being used where the world goes still, and in that silence, you hear the truth, not their version, not the one they spun in the shadows. Yours. You realize something, that pain didn't come to destroy you, it came to wake you up. So if someone cheats you, hurts you, betrays you, don't panic, don't chase, don't fight. Just do one thing, the only thing they never expected. Rise. Let silence be your loudest response. There is a kind of power that doesn't need to shout. It doesn't argue. It doesn't try to prove a point. It simply withdraws, and in that withdrawal, it speaks volumes. When someone cheats you, betrays your trust, or wounds you without apology, your first instinct might be to react, to confront them, to demand answers, to scream your worth into their ignorance. But that's what they expect. They thrive on your noise. They feed on your pain, and the more you react, the more you hand them your power piece by piece. But silence is untouchable. It doesn't beg for understanding. It doesn't demand an apology. It simply says, I saw everything, and I choose peace. There's a wisdom in restraint that most never learn. People think silence is weakness, but it isn't. It's a decision, a higher form of response, a sacred kind of self-respect. Because when you stop explaining yourself to those who never valued you in the first place, you finally begin to reclaim what they tried to take. Your calm, your dignity, your mind. Silence doesn't mean you didn't feel pain, it means you won't let pain define your next step. It's standing at the edge of the storm and saying, no, I won't be pulled into your chaos. You see, the person who hurt you may never admit it. They may twist the truth, pretend they did nothing wrong. They may laugh, move on quickly, or act like you were never worth grieving. Let them, because what you don't say will echo longer than any angry words you could ever speak. That's the kind of silence that haunts, not out of revenge but out of clarity, because in that silence you rise above. You stop lowering yourself into the mud just to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. There's something sacred about walking away without drama. No final message, no last conversation, no emotional explosion, just gone. And when they turn around to find you, you're no longer there. Not in presence, not in spirit, not even in memory the way they once knew you. That is how silence wins, not by erasing your pain, but by refusing to let it become your identity. So if someone cheated you, hurt you, broke your heart when you gave them every reason not to, don't argue. Don't explain, don't show them the tears they don't deserve to see. Instead, go quiet. Let your silence speak of all the truths they refuse to hear. Let it become your final statement, not out of pride, but out of power. Because sometimes the loudest thing you'll ever say is saying nothing at all. Protect your peace, not your pride. There comes a point when you stop asking, why did they do this to me? And start asking, why did I stay where my soul kept breaking? You see, when someone wounds you, it's easy to let your pride take over. You want to be seen, heard, vindicated. You want to prove that you were worth more than how they treated you. But pride is a noisy thing. It screams for attention, for validation, for justice. And in that noise, something far more precious gets lost: your peace. The truth is, pride might win the argument, but it never wins the war. Pride burns bridges while peace builds empires in silence. Protecting your peace doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you cared so much that you refused to let their betrayal turn you into someone you're not. You step back not because you're weak, but because you're finally strong enough to stop dancing for people who never learned to appreciate music in the first place. Let them talk. Let them spin stories where you're the villain and they're the misunderstood. You don't need to correct their lies, because truth has a strange way of revealing itself in time, and when it does, it never knocks. It storms in unapologetically. So while they perform for the crowd, you walk quietly backstage and build something better. You choose healing over noise, growth over ego, peace over pride. That's a war most people aren't brave enough to fight. You're not here to win back people who tossed you aside. You're not here to convince anyone of your worth. You were never meant to shrink yourself into someone else's comfort zone. The one thing you must protect at all costs now is your peace, because without it, even victories feel empty. Without it, your mind becomes a battlefield and your soul a casualty. Peace doesn't mean pretending you're okay. It means taking the time to be okay without needing anyone else to understand how you're doing it. And yes, it's hard. It's hard not to react when someone lies about you. It's hard not to scream when they act like they're the ones who suffered. But reacting gives them more of you, more energy, more space, and they've already taken enough. Protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. It's the foundation of everything you'll become after the heartbreak. And trust me, what you build in silence will echo louder than anything they ever tried to tear down. So no, you don't need to clap back. You don't need to prove them wrong. You don't need to get even. Just get quiet, get focused, get peaceful, because the one who walks away in peace always walks away in power. Elevate, don't escalate. Pain is a crossroad. When someone wrongs you, lies to you, uses you, walks away like your loyalty was disposable, you stand at a line. One side is rage, the other is rise. One leads you deeper into the fire, the other lifts you out of the ashes. That moment right there is where your future is decided, not by what they did to you, but by what you choose next. And if you remember nothing else, remember this: elevate, don't escalate. Escalation is easy. It's the instinct to clap back, to expose them, to drag them through the same emotional mud they dragged you through. But that only extends the war. It ties your peace to their chaos. You think you're winning because you're louder, but really, you're just locked in a cycle where no one truly heals. Elevation, on the other hand, is silent, powerful, transformative. It means stepping over the bait. It means using the betrayal not as a reason to break down, but as a reason to break through. Because every time someone hurts you, you are handed a choice: become bitter or become better. And while bitterness burns fast, it always burns you too. But becoming better, that's a slow fire, steady, strong, and unstoppable. The one thing they never saw coming. They thought you'd self-destruct, but instead you rebuilt. You grew quieter, wiser, sharper. That's what true elevation looks like, not screaming your side of the story, but living in such a way that no one even needs to hear it. Your growth becomes the story. Your success becomes the statement. There is no louder revenge than a healed life, no sharper answer than silence followed by progress. And when they see you not bitter, not broken, but becoming everything they never expected, that's when the real weight of their choices begins to hit. Not because you forced it, but because life has a way of revealing truth in layers, and when you elevate, you rise above the fog they tried to trap you in. Let them wonder why you didn't react. Let them question how you stayed calm when they were trying to provoke you. Let them watch as you walk away, not in defeat, but in direction. You're not running from the pain. You're rising into purpose. Escalation wastes energy. Elevation builds it. And one day, when the dust settles, and they look around for the version of you they thought they could break, they won't find it. Because you'll be too far gone higher, clearer, freer. So don't fight for closure. Don't fight to be right. Don't fight to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. Just rise. Rise without noise. Rise without revenge. Elevate, because that's the one thing they never prepared for. LED Karma work, IT doesn't miss. There's a rhythm to this universe, a balance so precise that nothing escapes it. People think they can lie, cheat, deceive, and walk away untouched. They think the pain they caused will vanish with time. But what they forget is this: life keeps the receipts. Every action leaves a fingerprint, and no matter how far someone runs from the harm they've done, it follows them, quietly, patiently, because karma never misses. You don't have to make them pay. You don't have to set the record straight or expose them for what they did. That's not your burden to carry. That's the beauty of letting go. You place the weight back where it belongs. Let the universe do what it does best. Balance. It may not come tomorrow. It may not come in the way you imagine, but it comes always, because nothing done in darkness stays buried. Sooner or later, what they did to you, the betrayal, the lies, the disregard, finds its way back to them. Not because you demanded justice, but because justice is already built into the system. And the truth is, you don't want to be around when it happens. You don't need to watch them fall. That's not healing, that's lingering. That's attaching your peace to their punishment. No, real strength is walking away, trusting that what's meant to return to them will, and when it does, you'll be so far into your own growth, your own peace, your own future, that their consequences won't even matter to you anymore. See, karma doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't explode, it erodes, slowly, silently, until one day they look around and wonder why everything feels empty, why the people they trusted don't trust them, why peace slips through their fingers no matter how hard they try. And that's not your doing. That's the echo of their own choices finally catching up. Let them think they got away with it. Let them walk with pride while you walk with pain for now. Because pain teaches, pain purifies, pain clears the path for your elevation. And while you're healing in silence, becoming wiser, stronger, more aligned with who you're meant to be, they're slowly being introduced to a truth they cannot escape, that no wound they caused went unnoticed by the hands that govern this world. So don't chase revenge, don't seek punishment, don't let bitterness make a home in your soul. Just keep moving forward, keep growing, keep living with integrity, because nothing you do with love, loyalty, and truth is ever wasted, and nothing done against you with cruelty and lies is ever forgotten by the laws that hold this life together. You don't have to lift a finger. Karma remembers, and it always, always delivers. The one thing: walk away like you know your worth. There comes a moment when the most powerful thing you can do is leave, not in anger, not in chaos, but in clarity. When someone cheats you, hurts you, disrespects the very soul you brought to them in trust, you don't have to beg. You don't have to explain. You don't even need to make them understand. You just walk away, not because you're weak, but because you've finally remembered who you are. And when you remember who you are, you stop entertaining people who forgot. Walking away is not about giving up. It's about refusing to shrink into places you've outgrown. It's about recognizing that no matter how much love you gave, how much patience you showed, how many chances you offered, it was never your job to fix someone who didn't want to be honest. You can love someone and still choose yourself. You can care deeply and still close the door. Because your worth isn't proven by how much pain you endure, it's proven by how little you're willing to tolerate once you finally see the truth. You don't have to slam the door. You don't have to make a scene. Just let your absence speak where your presence was once taken for granted. That's the real power, not in revenge, not in guilt, but in detachment. In saying, I gave what I could. I loved fully, but I refused to bleed for someone who never planned to stop the cut. And yes, it will hurt. Leaving always does, not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to walk away from something that once meant everything. But that pain, it will pass, and in its place will come something greater: peace. Peace that no longer depends on someone else's behavior. Peace that comes from choosing yourself, fiercely and finally. They may not see the value of what they lost, not immediately, but one day, maybe in silence, maybe in solitude, they'll remember the way you stayed when you didn't have to, the way you forgave when you had every right to leave. And when they do, it won't be your voice they hear, it'll be your absence. And in that empty space, they'll realize you were never the problem. You were the blessing they weren't ready to receive. So if someone cheats, lies, or wounds you and thinks they've won, don't argue. Don't break down. Don't run after them begging to be seen. Just walk. Walk with calm. Walk with grace. Walk with the unshakable truth that you are enough. That your presence was a gift and your departure is a lesson, because in the end, the one thing you must always do is leave like you know your worth.